Breaking news, everything is bad. It's just as terrible as you imagined, and probably worse. With more, we go to Tom Lee Cruz. Tom Lee.
We're all in danger, Dan Lee.
Jesus Christ, what can we do?
Absolutely nothing.
It was good knowing you, Tom Lee.
I can't say the same.
That was unnecessary. We're just now getting in reports that all the children have exploded. They will be missed. Let's check in with Olivia Lee Rodrigo. Olivia Lee, where are you?
That's none of your business. You hear that? Cut the music. Do you hear that?
What do you hear?
That's the sound of us slowly dying. Can you hear it?
I can hear it. It's louder in my left ear.
Olivia Lee Rodrigo reporting
I
from
actually
where
have some
I
more
am.
questions for you. Okay, we're going to go to Kevin Lee Costner, who has more with politics.
No, I don't.
Let's send it over to our senior correspondent, Nick Lee Minaj.
Look at this chart. Let's bring it up.
What am I looking at here?
I don't know, but it doesn't look good.
That looks bad.
Yeah, it's probably bad.
Let's go to our eye in the sky, Timothy Chalamet. Timothy.
Man, I am so high up right now.
You are in a helicopter.
I didn't know that when I got in. I thought it was a weird car.
What do you see up there?
Everything, it's too much. We were never supposed to see this. I need to go back down.
You stay right there. We're going to go to commercial.
Have you recently lost a child because they exploded? Because that's crazy. How are we all not talking about this? I feel like that really got glossed over real quick. That's a huge thing. Call Tedley. 555 call Tedley. I want to talk about this. Call Tedley now.
And we're back. Let's check in with Morgan Lee Freeman with sports. Morgan Lee.
I just want to take this sports time to say that whatever you hear about me in the next 24 hours is completely false. People are going to say things and have documents and recordings to back up what they say, and it's just not real. You should believe me and not their solid evidence. Knicks take it by 2.
This is when champions are born. We're going now to Frankly Sinatra with the weather, Frankly.
It's everywhere.
We won't be hearing from him anymore. Coming up, a cat learns how to water ski and then drown.
The news is never good. The news is never good. But I will still say to you, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I'm probably going to have a little bit of a shorter show tonight because after the show, I was supposed to be skipping and not spraying on over to Jim Tells You because today is his birthday. I'm going to see if I can get there before midnight. I'm not sure. Probably not. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's not looking good. It's not looking good, but we're going to do what we can to try and get over there before midnight, which means that, hey, if you want to get in here with, like, your super chats and stuff like that before, like, I shut down, you might think to yourself, oh, I got like an hour and 45 minutes here. I can, like, just roll on that joke at that. No. Time is of the essence. Time is very much of the essence. I'm going to start off today with what's really a horrible story. And you likely have heard something about it. I don't know if you've seen everything. We're actually going to be watching a video of the killer. Oh, it's believed to be the killer. Certainly, there's a lot of evidence to support that it is the killer. There was a shooting in a Catholic school in Minnesota today, which resulted in at least 2 children dying, 14 others being injured. It was a psychotic individual who was formerly known as Robert Westman and then went through all sorts of changes and transformations and going by the name of Robin Westman, referred to as being a trans woman. Robin Westman. I'm going to look through some. We're going to go through some. I'll just give you some clips first. And just for those of you who may have been too busy to catch news today and may be unaware of it, so you'll all be caught up. But while the shootings were going on, there was a little showdown that was happening there. So Kash Patel put out updates on the shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI is investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism, hate crime against Catholics. There were 2 fatalities, an 8-year-old and 10-year-old. In addition, 14 children, 3 adults were injured. The shooter's been identified as Robin Westman, a male born as Robert Westman. The FBI will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation with the public as we are able. And everything about this, I should leave this up here while I'm covering this entire story. So, yeah. Here they are saying that we have no idea about the motive. And this is going to be This tells you everything wrong with society today. Is that they're like, we have no idea about the motive. Now maybe this is before they saw the video, but they're so continually afraid of, oh, we might stir up anti-trans hate, and that's the whole message today. Is, don't turn this on the trans community. Don't turn this on the trans community. It's not about the transitioners themselves. That's for the most part. Most of them are victims themselves. Some of them are victims who then become people who make others victims. When I was talking with Jim yesterday about how I pity a trans man or a trans woman. I pity anyone who has some sort of struggle with who they are as a person, whether it's and frankly, many people struggle with who they are, not even on the gender level, but in many other ways, what they are, what their purpose is. That's kind of one of the mysteries of life that go back to Adam. But this whole gender twist on it of like what gender they are, that is something that is so basic to your DNA and your structure, and that the idea that we should be encouraging folks to deny reality, obvious realities, is something which could only result in tragedy for those confused individuals. And sometimes that tragedy will spill over into those who have nothing to do with them, like it did today. So this is not a matter that we should take out our vengeance on the trans community. No, we should be taking this out on politicians. We should be taking this out on the sciences. We should be taking this out on influencers or any trans folks who are trying to promote the idea that we should be transing our children. Anyone we should be taking this out on the APA and all their changes over, that instead of treating these poor sick people, they promote it. We should be taking this out on big pharma, because they also all these people, they all have an angle behind them. This is what before I go any further on this, I mean, I will. Maybe I'll do it. I'll do it when I get to Jacob Fry. We'll do it. I want to talk about how it's so transparent how these people are motivated by ulterior motives to make society a worse place. Let's go through a couple more things about this story before I break that down.
So the question was on a possible motive and a relationship to the church or to the school. I have no information to share on a motive other than saying again that there was some sort of manifesto that was timed to come out on YouTube. It's been taken down, and our investigators are going through that to try and develop a motive from that. Additionally, there are these 3 search warrants happening in residential locations, and we may very well, find more information or writings that could give some sense to that, but we don't have that now. And I cannot confirm a relationship between the suspect or his family and this church at this time, but that's obviously something we're looking very closely at.
Why are they taking down the video? Why would you be taking down the video? If it was some KKK guy, would you be taking down the video? Why are you taking down the video? See, this is all part of the same thing. It's all part that if reality of a protected narrative is shown to be hideous, so we're just going to hide from reality. It's just further enabling the entire problem. It's terrible. This is reported by Brooke Taylor TV. Sources confirmed to Fox the Minneapolis shooter has been identified as 23-year-old Robert Westman. According to court docs, at 17 years old, Robert Westman formerly had his legal name changed to Robin, still a minor, because docs state the minor child identifies as female and wants her name to reflect the identification. So the application for a name change of a minor was filed by the mother, and court granted the request in 2020. So there you go. See how well they were treated? See how well they were healed? See how well all their psychosis went away as soon as, you trans them over? Why didn't that cure it? Why not? The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church, Chief Brian O'Hara said. The coward has been identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman. We'll go with search warrants, etc. We're going to be watching video of this lunatic. 11-minute video. And the school's having a mass this morning when this lunatic went in there. Horrifying.
We need to share this information. This was just confirmed by Fox 9 sources that the suspect is dead. This is confirmed by Fox 9 sources. So, and folks back in the newsroom and control room, just please, you're doing a great job. Continue to let us know what is confirmed and what we can report out here, because there's a lot of information that's coming in on our internal channels. So I appreciate you guys being so specific. Thank you. So reports now confirmed by Fox 9 sources that the suspect is dead. I'm looking at some of our images.
All right, so that wasn't what I was looking for. And apparently part of the problem is crime in Minneapolis was so bad last night that the police response to the Annunciation Catholic School may have been limited, according to Fox. This is just, it's like these liberal states and cities have no idea how to run anything. They create chaos and they're like, well, what are we supposed to do? It's too many guns. It's not too many guns. It's that you make crazy people. You're like crazy making, you're like a factory for making more crazy people. And then you're like, oh, well, what are we supposed to do? People have guns. They always had guns. We've always had guns.
It's tactical vest, which it doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Sometimes the FBI is called in to help and things like this. I will say throughout the morning, we've been following a violent night overnight in Minneapolis. So we know already that Minneapolis police were pretty strapped. They responded to.
They're pretty strapped. You see, this is, yeah, Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Fry.
At least another deadly shooting in downtown Minneapolis earlier this morning. No indication that any of that is connected to what's going on here, but just gives you an idea of this city's resources and how they've been using those. They also dealt with a shooting involving 7 victims earlier yesterday, another fatal last night around 8 o'clock. So it could be that a lot of this help is being called in just to alleviate some of the busyness, I guess, that you could say that Minneapolis police are under, but clearly,
no, the lunacy of that's been created in these, and it's
a lot of agencies now coming in to help. And I will say, Amy, when you see sometimes a lot of these law enforcement officers kind of by the perimeter, we saw them bringing plainclothes people. It looked like not law enforcement, maybe people involved with the scene, kind of taking them away from that scene. Could be an indication that things are settling down a bit there, that this is maybe now.
Yeah, just make sure. I know you're using black humor. His point is, you make guns illegal. What's that going to stop anything? People who want guns still have guns. We should be taking this out on leaders who refuse to put armed guards and other security measures at every school in the country. It's a sad reality. It's a sad reality. I'll tell you this. Some of you may remember this shooting of a synagogue, I think in Pittsburgh, somewhere in Pennsylvania, that happened like 7 years ago. And ever since then, excuse me, that's probably going to happen a couple more times during the course of this tonight's show. And cough is clearing out. Ever since then, every synagogue in my neighborhood has security, like outside. Ever since that shooting of the Tree of Life, I think it was called, or something. But yeah, they've created, when they close down the sanitariums, they basically say, let's let all the crazy people roam free. Now, supposedly Charlie Kirk was talking about being in support of red flag laws. I am not in support of red flag laws. As soon as we approve red flag laws, that that means that they're just going to basically say no one's entitled to have a gun. That's what they do. That's what it's going to become. That's what it will clearly become. That's not the answer. The answer is not red flag laws. Let's get to Jacob Fry. Jacob Fry, mayor of Minneapolis. You might remember him from the Summer of Love when he basically did his walk of shame into a Black Lives Matter protest and, I'm guilty. Very stupid thing. Little cuck.
Look, we need to be doing more than talking. It can't just be words. There needs to be action. And when we have seen school shooting after school shooting, when we have seen churches get shot up by horrible actors, I think the impetus has to be on all of us as leaders to do a whole lot more, to recognize that we've got more guns in this country than we have people.
That's where you go? We have more guns than people. Okay. So we're going to start. So when we have a terrible car accident, we're just going to start getting rid of our cars? This is the stupidest thing in the world. This is deflection from the jackass who's he basically makes a career out of being a jackass supporting this type of asininery. Let me explain something to you. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. Well, I'm going to let him finish. Go ahead. Go. You talk, Drake. You talk.
And it's on all of us to recognize the truth and the reality that we can't just say that this shouldn't happen again and then allow it to happen again.
You make it happen.
Beyond that, it's on all of us. And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community.
I have heard. Really? Tell us who. Tell us who. Give us names at our trans community. Let's worry about the 100th of 1% of the people in our nation instead of the entire society put at risk. I have heard that they might hear mean words. You're such a jackass. God.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity.
Lost their sense of common humanity.
We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone.
I have hate for you. I don't have hate for the trans. I have hate for you. You make the world a worse place to live. I don't have hate for the trans. I have hate because of people like you who make there be more trans. That's what I have hate for. I have hate for people who are looking to propagate this idiocy. I was screaming about this yesterday. Every person you hear who's sitting there trying to advocate that we need to transfy our children and try and promote the idea of giving greater and greater information, education about different alternatives to your life and different choices, and exposing children to drag queens walking around flashing their genitalia. All of these sickos who are looking to try and spread licentiousness wherever possible, as farly, as widely, and as deeply as they possibly can. Every one of them has an evil motive that is not designed to benefit the long-term health of any of the people who are actually affected. Meaning, when you have someone who, let's say, has some sort of issues, psychological issues, emotional issues, the healthiest thing is to help them deal with those issues and reality as reality is. If somebody has a fear of heights, you don't say to them, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're in an airplane. Let's shove you out of the plane. This way you'll be lower. This will be closer to the ground." It's the stupidest thing in the world. I was saying yesterday, if someone has a peg leg, if someone thinks he's a pirate kid, you're going to start sawing off his leg, poking out his eye, so you can wear a cool eye patch. It's the dumbest thing in the world to say that some some child or some immature adolescent who is unpopular and doesn't feel as if they're ever going to fit in.
Breaking news, everything is bad. It's just as terrible as
We
you
should be
imagined, and
operating
probably worse. With more, we go to Tom Lee Cruz. Tom Lee.
We're all in danger, Dan Lee.
Jesus Christ, what?
My apologies for that. But the idea that the notion that the APA came up with, saying that this is something that's, not sick, it's not twisted, should not be treated, that is the birthplace of this. And all of these politicians use it to show how deeply they can virtue signal. I'm a good person. I understand the plight of suffering individuals. So they basically try to weaponize the emotion, primarily of college kids and other, let's say, older white woke liberals, into saying, aren't you, that you're really a good person. You care about everyone. You care about everyone who's struggling, everyone who has their issues. And instead of saying, hey, let's help them sort through their issues, let's help them actually go through that tricky process, they basically say, how can I use their plight, their problem, to better enrich and empower myself? And there's a lot of ways that people get enriched and empowered by using these poor trans folks. So again, I don't feel I feel pity. I don't feel anger towards people in the trans community. I don't know anyone who feels a hatred for someone just because they went through that. They don't feel hatred for them. They feel hatred for you, Jacob Fry, and for your boss, Governor Tim Walz, and for every other woke leftist commie who basically says, let's enable this psychosis further and further. And this way, and the motivation for all the people who are supporting it, they're either gaining financially, political power. Who's doing it? Who's doing it? It's, you have your medical industry there, where this is a massive business for them and for Big Pharma. The whole transitioning thing, all of that, these massive amounts of money. Then you have the governors and all the Democrats there who are trying to show the first primary motivator is money. The second motivator is the need to virtue signal and show that they are the good people, to show that they are concerned, to show that they're looking out. And then you have the frequent crossover of the money/power and also the virtue signaling. And the reason that people crave virtue signaling is because they feel their own insecurities. And they feel like, I'm not really such a great person, but I want people to think I'm a really good person. So if I'm able to stand up here and face the arrows and say, I'm going to stand up for these other people here because I'm really a good person, but the way that they stand up for them is actually something that is destroying the people they're standing up for. That's why these virtue signaling insecure folk are such a bane of society. Oh, I know what that is. As Jim tells you going live on me. That's why they're so damaging. That's why they're so bad for society, because they basically feel, I'm very insecure. I don't really deserve to have love. I want to show that I'm a good person by standing up for people who are weak or troubled or minority or outsiders who are looking to come into this country. All of this has the same sort of thing, that these are people who seem as if they're disadvantaged one way or another, or they're troubled one way or another, and that since I'm so well put together and I can stand up for them, so I'm going to now help. But the way that they try to help is very, very damaging to society. They don't care about that crap. They don't care about that part of it at all, because they're so self-involved, so narcissistic, and so insecure that they're like, no, I have to find some way to show the world that I'm an ally, and I'm an ally of the illegal aliens. And at first, I was telling you that they're not all criminals. But now when Trump's trying to get rid of the criminals, I'm going to say, no, even the criminals. Right? I mean, think of how twisted it gets. And people think it's about TDS. And yes, Trump plays some role into it. But I can promise you, if it wasn't Donald Trump who won in 2016, if it was anyone else, delivering any kind of message that was defeating Hillary Clinton, they would have had the same derangement syndrome. Some of you are probably too young to remember that back in 2003, 2004, they had something called BDS, which was Bush derangement syndrome. Because anytime there's someone there, the left is screaming, this is the most evil person ever. That's what they screamed. It's not about Trump. They claim it's about Trump. It's not about Trump. It's that if you stand up against their stupid, self-defeating, self-immolating, self-destructive policies that are only being promoted by people who are either making money from it or trying to virtue signal, trying to fit in with their peers. They're like, oh, well, everyone else in my college is basically taking this position. I have to take that position. So it becomes this thing where you feel like I have to take this position and otherwise I'm not a good person. And they weaponize your humanity. So when Jacob Fryer comes along here and says, that you're lacking in common humanity, no, you're continually trying to weaponize the humanity of people. You're trying to weaponize the humanity of high school kids, trying to weaponize the humanity of college kids, trying to weaponize the humanity of people who have all sorts of their own emotional and psychological issues and say, hey, the way you can wash all that away and be saved and held, it's like you're reborn under Jesus, but instead of it being Jesus in this context, that you're reborn as someone who's actually a really virtuous person. That's the motivation for virtue signaling. That you can be, you too. We know you're a sinner. We know that you hate yourself. We feel guilty. But we're going to try and make you feel a lot less guilty, because even if you have some sort of sick, twisted perversion, we're going to tell you that's normal. That's natural. And furthermore, if you stand up with sick, perverted people, we're going to tell you, oh, you're standing up for someone who has their issues, someone who has their problems, someone who's just addicted to, he has an attraction to children. He's just born that way. So every twisted type of sickness that is out there is defensible if you pitch it to someone who's looking to virtue signal. And that's what ends up happening here. And then when the psychosis spills over, explodes, and blows all over the place, and unfortunately, we have this awful, terrible, disgusting tragedy of children whose lives are cut down, the most innocent people imaginable, sitting in mass and getting blown away by some psycho lunatic. And their big concern is maybe there'll be mean words to other people who are psychos who we're always trying to defend. And we really need to focus on the guns. The guns have always been there. Guns will always be there. So stop. It doesn't matter if it's an AK-47 or an M16 or some Glock. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be guns, and there always should be guns. So sitting there saying it's all about the guns is the stupidest answer imaginable. It's the stupidest answer imaginable. Because unless you're going to strip away all of our guns, you're still not going to be able to strip it away from the criminal element. And I can understand an argument saying that, like, hey, if we were to ban all guns, it would be harder for some typical psycho to get their hands on guns. But it also would be much harder and impossible for law-abiding folk to stand up and defend from these psychos. So when they see that, hey, the policies that we've engaged in, the policies we've been embracing are not working. They suck. And these psychos who we try and pretend are normal end up becoming psychos in other directions. Instead of actually pointing a finger to it, instead of having some sort of rethink about how stupid their strategies are, they're going to try and point fingers at something else as someone else's fault. Gavin Newsom, he's going to sit there telling you that, we don't have a crime problem. 8 of the 10 worst states for murder are red states. Yeah, that's right. And where are those murders happening? In blue cities. But they have to try and find some way to try and say that our policies haven't been self-destructive, haven't been a complete fail. So while cities crumble and get worse and worse, while misery flourishes, Like it's like mold in in a moisture dark area. While people are self-medicating, while drugs are out of control. When our borders are flooded, it doesn't matter how terrible the problems are. There is never any accountability. There's always someone else to blame. Because if I have to do self-assessment, then the whole virtue signaling that I've built my entire life on now is exposed as being utter BS. And that makes me feel like I'm a bad person. I don't want to feel like I'm a bad person. So instead, I'm going to try and find any other possible stupid explanation, some other stupid rationalization to try and pretend that the policies I've been advocating for and screaming about aren't the most backward, stupid ass policies imaginable. See, yeah, Jacob Fry, we shouldn't be yelling at the you shouldn't be yelling at the trans community. No, we should be yelling at you. This is all your fault and people like you. You are the problem, Jacob Fry. You're the problem.
From a place of love for our kids. Kids died today. This needs to be about them.
How? How are you gonna make it about them? So your whole vigils? What does that do? We all feel terrible for the children. What does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's empty words. So you sit there, pray for their souls. Okay. Then what? So what does that mean? Be about them.
This needs to be wrapping our arms around these families with every bit of love that we can possibly show.
I'll tell you right now, they should have like a scourge. You want to make these families feel better, you should basically let them like play like the most dangerous game with Jacob Fry as their target. Yeah, that. And obviously, I'm speaking tongue in cheek. I don't want anyone to actually engage in violence against him. What I'm saying is that these people are such a danger for society, and all they want is more and more power. So they say these empty word things like these needs to be about the children. What the hell does that do for tomorrow's victims, you jackass?
And I know that our Minneapolis family and well beyond is prepared.
Minneapolis is not a family. It's a city. Okay? There's no Minneapolis family. Stop pretending like everyone here knows everyone and everyone cares about each other. It's a city.
To do exactly that. And so my message to everyone out there is, again, these families are experiencing some acute pain right now. But the
pain that you helped cause. You and Tampon Tim Walls helped cause. And again, this is not about Robin Westman. It's that they made Robin Westman. The reason that there's a Robin Westman is because of people like Jacob Fry. I have to be 100%. I want to make sure every person who ever watches me understands this. The reason Robert Westman becomes Robin Westman is because we have a society which is geared towards telling little kids, hey, if you're not really accepted and popular, here's an alternative that maybe you might want to consider if you're not sure about your body. And every kid who's going through puberty has some sort of issues with their body that they're not happy about. And a sufficient percentage end up swallowing that complete crap. So they come in there, it's like, we're the good guys, we care about people, and basically trying to feed in that, hey, this is something you might want to try. So the reason we have Robin Westman is because of Jacob Fry. He makes more Robin Westmans. Now, does that mean that if in fact there was no promotion of the trans community, this whole foisting on children, does that mean that that Robin Westman, I don't even want to call him Robin, that Robert Westman would have had a happy and healthy life? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that Robert Westman would not have gone off on a shooting spree. No, it doesn't mean that either. What it means is that you can actually identify Robert Westman as someone who needs a great deal more help and is not someone who's safe roaming around society. You can help identify that instead of trying to fix him by basically cutting off his genitalia and pumping him filled with estrogen, that's somehow going to make him better by making him her, then instead of doing that, you actually try giving him actual real treatment, real medical treatment. In that case, and recognize that this is not a person who has a healthy mindset. But if you refuse to recognize that they have an unhealthy mindset, you're never treating them. You're treating a symptom, not the cause. And the way you're treating the symptom is by basically making the cause that much worse. By pumping them full of chemicals that they're not supposed to be having in their bodies. And it's not helping their mind. So you made Robert, you're the one who birthed Robin Westman. He popped out of his mom's womb, but you and your ilk birthed Robin Westman. This is on you, Jacob Fry.
Don't just think of these as somebody else's kids.
No, I think it's your
Think of
kid.
your own. Let's make sure that we're acting now to not just say it's never happening again, but ensure it doesn't.
It's stupid. So we're going to go on a whole thing, and that way when people actually are screaming, what the hell are you talking about? I'm keeping my gun. Well, you're the problem. We tried fixing it. You're the problem because you're trying to stand up for your basic Second Amendment rights. So you're the problem now. No, Jacob Fry. You and your tampon Tim are the problem. So he comes out there with his virtue signaling policies. And that way, when he says, vote for me if you're a good person. And you too can virtue signal that you care about people with these problems. So for him, it's a political power ploy, as it is for Tampon Tim. I mean, putting aside whatever personal psychoses they have of their own, whatever twisted fetishes they themselves have. I have no idea what twisted fetishes, if any, Jacob Fry has. I have all sorts of questions about Tampon Tim Walz. He just looks like a psychopath. The worst thing that these politicians did was make schools a gun-free zone and announce it to the public. They made our kids a soft target. Yeah. Yeah. That's following up what Aaron was saying earlier. It's not on all of us. First, protect the kids. Second, fix the social ills. Third, stop all those guns from running around firing themselves. Yeah. All those self-firing guns. It's no foundation. Posobiec has the manuscript on Tim Pool. Oh, he does? Cool. I saw him flipping through the manuscript. Let's get to this trans kid. DNC vainglorious virtue signaling. Yep. Joe, I bet that he had a mental episode before this that would have not allowed him to own a gun. Okay. This is this psychopath here. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Okay. There it is. Let's watch it. This is Robert/Robin Westman. By all accounts.
Here's my note to my family and shit.
I think I have this playing. I don't know how it went. By the way, I'm fully aware that there's a very, very good chance that YouTube is going to take this down from me because of this thing. Because I'm showing this clip. Because I think they're trying to get this off of YouTube. So if that happens, and this has to come down, I guess you'll see it on Rumble.
Here's my note to my family.
This is what he was talking about as far as his manifesto. Says, I don't expect forgiveness and I don't expect any apology. I told I have to hold much weight, but to my family and those close to me, I do apologize for the effects my actions will have on your lives. Please know I care for all of you so much, and it pains me to bring this storm of chaos into your lives. This will affect so many more people than the ones that are immediately involved. To my mother and father, I'm sorry I didn't turn out as you had hoped. You did not fail me. You gave me so much. I truly appreciate the love you have given me. I feel I was raised to be a good person. I kept these traits of empathy, self-sacrifice, and good character, of course. Please not think you have failed as parents. I was corrupted by this world, and I have learned to hate what life is. Yeah, a world which told him to be trans. I learned to hate what life is. Life is love. Life is pain. There's too much to accept, too many things to put up with just to live. I'm tired of the pain this world gives out. Please move on and continue to give your love to my brothers and sisters and the rest of the world. And they may not forgive you, but you need to move on from me. Forget my life and the pain I brought. I love you both. Thank you for everything. I'm sorry. To my siblings, I'm sorry for forever tainting the rest of your lives, your careers, lives, relationships. All will be turned upside down. Please hold on to who you are, not who I am. Change your names if you must. I wish I could tell you that before I go. Please know that.
Wow, some English writing. Wow.
I love you all and truly appreciate the time I spent with you. This just goes on and on. And to my friends, and I
hope you can read that.
I wanted this for at the end. The heartbreak. Oh, let me just read through fast. I have such an amazing family. It hurts me to throw this wrench into the world of your good together. I appreciate all that you taught me, and I feel inspired to be like you when I grew up. I felt inspired to be like when I grew up. I hope you're able to move on and continue your lives without being forever followed, forever haunted by my actions. Forget me and all that I am. Hold on to yourselves. No one's going to let them forget you. Don't worry. Hold on to yourselves and your loved ones. I love you all. And to my friends, I trust you all to give your memory of me however you see fit. I'm sorry for the confusion, heartbreak this will bring. I truly appreciate all you've shown me a good life and helped me through dark times. I have had so many good times that gave me hope. Unfortunately, this world has too much pain to deal out. I can't cover up with the good sides of life. I hope you all can move on, forget the pain I've caused. Sicko. I've wanted this for so long. I'm not well. I'm not right. I'm not a sad person haunted by those thoughts. I'm a sad person haunted by these thoughts that do not go away. I know this is wrong, but I can't seem to stop myself. I'm severely depressed and have been self-harming for years. Only recently have I lost all hope and decided to perform my final action against this world. I don't want to kneel down to the injustices of this world. I want to die. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees, constantly in pain. Ah! What the heck happened? Well, that's weird. I don't know how that happened. All right. It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
I think I'm dying of cancer. It's tragic, and it's not tragic enough, as it entirely self-inflicted. I did this to myself as can I control myself, and I have destroyed my body through vaping and other means. I think I have lung. Okay, I felt many pains that make me think I'm past the point of recovery. I do not want to recover. On and on. He's all depressed. You all are what keep me going. I find no more interest in anything material. I have an interest in my mission and love for my family. If I didn't have such an amazing group of people,
Yeah.
whether you accept my apologies or not, I hope you can all move past this and continue your lives. Woe is me, pity me. It's not your fault. Woe is me.
Peace, love, unity.
Ends with, love you all. Remember, you pray for the victims and their families. I love you, Dad, Mom, Jack, Martha, Teresa, Joe, Jared, Phil, Liam. Signed, Robin Westman. P.S. T, get over yourself and make up with Mom. She loves you. She needs to grow up and accept that time just keeps on effing moving. You either will stay in the past and rot, wasting your life and happiness. There's such profound, deep thoughts here. Happiness where you can grow up and move on from things. We all love you. I wouldn't recommend any of you to read my journals unless you really want to, but be warned.
And guns. Fuck Пока, my brata. Пока. Mm. 9mm. Ah, get fucked. This message brought to you by BlackRock and ExxonMobil. Sponsored by Pabst Blue Ribbon. Brandon Herrera for president. Yeah, I met Brandon Herrera at SHOT Show last year. He and I had a brief conversation, but we agreed on a lot of things. So y'all should vote for Brandon Herrera for president.
Yeah, that's an endorsement he's really happy about.
And Vintage Warfare promotes love and peace and accepting differences. Tomorrow, I'm sorry to my family. But that's it. That's the only people I'm sorry to. Fuck those kids. Skibbity. Skibbity. Shit. I regret everything. I didn't ask for life. You
Boo-hoo.
asked for death.
Boo-hoo.
Fucking stars.
He's 23. You can see how female he is.
9mm go bang.
Sicko.
I'm
So-
Walker, baby. Why so curious?
Where is your fucking god now? Shit.
In case you joined late, this is video of Robert Westman turned Robin Westman, supposedly. And we read his manifesto signed Robin. So
Skibbity Riz. Scum gang.
sicko. Racist.
The big boy. Fucking rip and tear. That's the big one.
Sponsored by BlackRock.
Don't forget to live, laugh, and love.
Look what he does here. This one.
This one's for me in case I need it.
He planned to kill himself. He bought the pistol so he can kill himself.
Some smoke, extra thick. Eat shit, motherfucker. Ah, koszmar.
Sickening. Yep.
My Vivimos en el sociedad. Help me, I don't want to be here. Well, you're here. Oh, another one. Where should get motherfucking Breivik engine? Fuck Niger. That dude raped someone. Yeah, man. Yeah. Got my new headphones so I can hear them scream. Nice, nice. Oh, here's my belt. Yeah.
Look at that one. Oh, 6 million wasn't enough. Asshole.
Plug. Oh yeah, check. I got my shirt. Skajou. Better than the best. I got my Minnesota patch. In the fucking FSB. Maybe I look like a cop and I won't get rushed or something. I don't know. But shit, let's fucking
Yeah, I think
do
so.
this before things all kicks in. Yo. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Oh. Oh yeah, check this out. Got more Jew gas taped on this end. This will be for the emergency exit. Pop it through the hand. Oh, there's Garfield. This is all too fucking real. Nigga. Yeah. Tomorrow.
So there you go.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel really good.
So there you go. There you go. A lot of people I noticed were making comments about. I just want to about what Piano Dean was saying here. If God forbid an evil act like this happened at a mosque in Dearborn during Muslim prayer, I wonder if the left would say how useless prayer is. And that is a common theme if you're not on social media. That is a common topic which has been coming up, which is that people are chastising faith because, hey, where is your faith now? Faith didn't help you now, which is such an incompetent perspective. It is the stupidest perspective in the world. And look, you all know that I'm Jewish. So I'm not a believer in Catholicism or the Christian faith. But anyone who tries saying that an incident that happens in a place of worship is a reflection of the ineffectiveness of worship of God, or proof that this religion is right or that one's wrong or whatever, is an idiot. That is the stupidest thing in the world. That's not a reason to say that prayer is a failure, or that this is indicative of that this tragedy happening to a particular person or a particular place, that's reflective of there being some flaw, is an asinine jackass. It's the stupidest thing in the world. Because if there was some sort of miraculous event which saved people in this, first and foremost, you wouldn't recognize, the people who are making that criticism would never recognize it as being a miraculous event. They would just be saying, oh yeah, they just got lucky. That's what they would say in that circumstance. But if there was an open miracle, there was some sort of, light that shined down and flashed in, the killer's face, and all of a sudden, or literally, an angel flew out of heaven. Everyone has video of this angel flying out and enveloping this guy in his arms and stopping him. And it was something that was just some sort of irrefutable evidence. If it wasn't irrefutable evidence, in that case, they'd say well, you're just chalking that up as a miracle, but these things happen, and it's just happened here to protect these kids. But if there was an actual incident where there was some sort of openly miraculous type of salvation that would happen to people, practitioners of any faith, that and that people want to say, oh, you see, that if it was that open and that blatant, if God wanted to work in that way, then why would God have to remain hidden at all? What's the point to God remaining hidden? It's circumventing the whole point. The whole point is, if God is sitting on a throne that we can all see God, then there's nothing to believing in God. And if he's that visible by creating open miracles like that, it's the same thing as seeing God. It's the stupidest thing in the world to say faith or prayer doesn't work or whatever. Anyone who tells you that is someone who just feels very uncomfortable with their own lack of prayer. That's a reflection of a mindset that just has deep issues about God in general. That you try pointing to this incident and try to say, you see, prayer doesn't work. That's crap. That's just, it's an illogical, it's a logical fallacy, because at the end of the day, the whole premise of religion with respect to God keeping himself hidden, the point is there's no choice of faith if God is sitting there visible in the sky. And if it's something that's the next best thing, like an open miracle, then how is there any sort of issue of faith? The reason you would be coming to God in that circumstance is not because you recognize or appreciate God, but out of fear, out of okay, this is just the smart play. I'm playing the percentages as far as this is just if every time someone did something that was sinful, so to speak, as soon as they did a sin, all of a sudden their hand would catch fire. So they wouldn't sin. Is that because they're making a choice not to sin? No, it's because they're I really don't want my hand catching fire. It's painful. I don't want that to happen. So if that were to happen, in that case, there's no freedom of choice in accepting God. You're doing it so that you don't get punched in the face. We actually, we believe that the whole 10 plagues that happened in Egypt, the purpose of the 10 plagues. Why is it God didn't just march the Jews out of Egypt? Why not just God's all powerful? So just, drop everyone dead. Boom. Don't go through the whole agony and suffering or something like that. Or you don't have to kill everyone. You just make a wall of fire, surround, protect the Jews and usher them out and no one's gonna be able to get through. Why not do it that way? You could have done it that way. So we believe that the reason that God did the 10 plagues and had Moses keep going back to Pharaoh and saying, hey, let them go, let them go, let them go. And was because ultimately God was looking for a recognition from Pharaoh and a choice. We actually, if you look in Exodus, you'll see that there's multiple times that it says God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So it's a common question that people ask is how is that free will? If God's hardening his heart and making him say no, then how is that free will? And the explanation that rabbinic authorities give is the hardening of the heart was designed to fortify him, that he's not acting out of fear, that he's acting out of a recognition that these miracles are a sign that God is there and God wants them. God wants me to release them. But if he's only doing it because he's getting punched and punched and punched, and he's like, okay, I can't take another punch anymore. So even though I don't recognize, even though Pharaoh is denying the existence of God, but saying whatever one way or another, I can't handle being punched, so I'm just going to lie and pretend I'm accepting God. In that case, that's not a recognition of God. That is ultimately him losing his strength and giving up on being able to win the battle. So if you're giving up if you're giving in and saying, I recognize God because you recognize you have weakness and an inability to beat whatever blows are coming at you, that's not accepting God. That's not recognizing God. That's not doing anything. That's just making the smart move. That's just, you don't put your hand on the stove because you're not going to win that fight between your hand and the stove. So since that's not a recognition of divinity, that's not a recognition of creator of the earth or someone or God controlling the world, that's a matter of you can still be saying, I don't believe God controls the world, but for one reason or another, I'm losing this battle here. So I'm just going to say God controls the world. So so the whole hardening of the heart was really fortifying of Pharaoh that he could take the punch and strengthen and say no, I'm strong enough. Even though I've faced the water turning to blood and the frogs and the lice and the pestilence and the locusts and the hailstorm, all that stuff, I'm still strong enough. I can take it. I take another punch. And because that way it's the hardening of his heart that actually enables him to have free will rather than caving to a power that's stronger than him. An intellectual appreciation, existence of God, rather than saying, I deny God exists, but Moses has powers I can't beat, so I'm just going to let them go. So that's the whole hardening of his heart. But the point that I'm getting at here is in refutation of all these jackasses who are trying to claim, oh, you see, right, it doesn't work. That's the stupidest thing. Because if there was a veiled miracle, you wouldn't believe it. If no one ever was able to get killed when they were in the middle of prayer, then yeah, everyone would be in a certainly dangerous situation, they'd be praying. And then he's like, oh, prayer doesn't work. That's the stupidest thing. Then in that case, that's not accepting God because you're believing in God. The people who be involved in prayer, it's not because they actually believe in God. It's because they're basically using that as a shield. They'd be using prayer as a shield, and that's not what. And prayer is such an obvious shield. In that case, you're not actually coming to God out of recognition and respect for God. It's that you're trying to basically use God as a shield without actually believing in God. So, and it would actually be much harder to believe in God because you would just turn on your God thing whenever you want it. It's oh, I need a shield now. Okay, let me go pray, and now no one can touch me. It's a childish argument. Joe, I bet I meant so before this that we're not. I think we covered that. And if he was just sick, he would not have he would not have hearing protection. AS person usually has no care. Oh, I think he's talking about someone. I think Victor Man was trying to get around the YouTube censors with the self harm, the self deletion. S is self harmer. There you go. Yet another crazy person's illusions were affirmed until he couldn't live with himself. Yeah, because they don't help anyone. They just make life worse for everyone. Just make it worse. There you go. So, all right. Let's move on. I feel like I'm very late. I want to try and wrap up sooner rather than later. I am after the show, after I finish up over here, I'm going to be joining Jim for his birthday. So I'd like to try and get in there as soon as possible. All right. This is kind of funny. Susan Collins. Senator Susan Collins, terrible, terrible Republican senator. She's the one who's one of the three most likely to sign up with the Democrats on any given issue. At a ribbon cutting ceremony.
If you would let me celebrate. Oh, please. There's no celebration during genocide.
Look how they jumped from Medicare to genocide. Spot all the ways that you can tell that this is not an organic protest. And I hate Susan Collins, so I kind of like that they did this to her. Okay? I like that they did this to her. This is the furthest thing from organic protesting at her ribbon cutting here. So, yeah, she's a terrible human being. But it's funny because this is definitely bought and paid for protesters. These are not people from Searsport or whatever part of Maine she's in.
You're gonna fat shame me? So could you just? You're not so slim yourself. Could you please just listen for just one? Like you? No, you never listen to us. You never listen to your job. Listen. Your votes destroyed our Supreme Court. You refuse to have town halls to the for a moment. Why are you genocide? Could you just listen? You have voted for our Israel every vote. I have a suggestion. Could you listen to the suggestion? Vote for Heckled. Could you? Yeah. Could you listen to the suggestion? You better.
How many signs have you seen so far that this is definitely a paid protest? How many?
It better include a town hall. Here is my suggestion. I would like the town of Searsport, which has worked so hard with state, local, and with me, to bring today about to be able to celebrate. What about Gaza? Why? Why should we wait? Why should we wait? Why? You are the president.
All right. So did you see the signs? Did you see the signs? Okay. So here are the signs we see. Here are the signs that we see that make this obvious that this is paid protesters. They start off all chanting together, shame, shame, shame. Right? Shame, shame, shame. All of them joining in. Shame, 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 That's the Medicare, Medicaid person. So they're raising that issue, right? They're raising that issue. So that's their beef. Each of them have their own different talking point that they're supposed to be yelling about. One person's supposed to be yelling about Medicare. You would think a second person would join in on that. No. Everyone else has a different issue.
Oh, but I'm so disgusted with the cuts the Republican Party has made to this big ugly bill.
Cuts to the big ugly bill? What are you even talking about? What are the cuts? What cuts are you upset about? You see, no one would say it like that. They'd be like, I'm upset about something, not cuts. Cuts to the big ugly bill. That doesn't even make. That's not even. It's like she read the card wrong.
Get out of here! So now, if you would let me celebrate. Oh, please. There's no celebration during genocide.
Now that's the genocide woman. So she's the one on about genocide. Let me tell you something. Okay, no person cares about the genocide. Nobody. They don't. It's a point. I know that there are protests and marches and stuff like that. Look at the people here. Look at the people who are here at this celebration. You think that there's some college kid here? Yeah, someone that's just naturally there and Sears Sports. Because no one cares about the genocide. No one. Let's talk about the genocide. You know who cares about that? A paid protester. It's like, oh, here's something else you can be screaming about. Scream about the genocide.
You're gonna fat shame me? So
Where's the fat shaming? What are you talking about?
could you just
Even the phrase fat shaming is like crazy leftist talk, crazy leftist speak. It's like, yeah, all these leftists always show up wherever a Republican is, right? Naturally. They just naturally go there.
Could you please just listen for just one? Like you. No, you never listen to us. You never listen to your job. Listen. Your votes destroyed our Supreme Court.
Oh, now we got the Supreme Court guy. The Supreme Court guy. Where'd that come from? They're talking about healthcare. They're talking about genocide. They're talking about not listening, not having town halls. Here comes Supreme Court guy. It's like they got one of every issue. Where's the person screaming about the deporting criminals? Why are you deporting all the criminals? They're just trying to get by.
Refuse to have town halls with us. We are listening to us for a moment. Why are you having genocide? Just listen. You have voted for our Israel every vote. I have a suggestion. Would you listen to the suggestion? Vote for Heckled! Yeah!
Who would even be thinking about the Democratic candidate right here that they would scream out, vote Graham Plantner? That's what they were here to say. They all came. They're all paid to come there and say, vote Graham Plantner. Why are they there otherwise? What is the point of screaming, vote Graham Plantner? That was a massive tell. Are you thinking of Democrat of Republican candidates? I'm not thinking about who's going to replace Tim Booker, Cory Booker.
Would you listen to the suggestion? It better include the town hall. Here is my suggestion. I would like the town of Searsport, which has worked so hard with state, local, and with me to bring today about, to be able to celebrate.
What about God?
Why should we wait? Why should we wait? You are
So there you go. That's what this was about. This was a paid protest. I hate her. She's a terrible person. Terrible person. So when bad things happen to bad people, I think that's okay. And finally tonight, we have this. We have Donald Trump targeting George Soros. George Soros and his wonderful radical left son should be charged with RICO because of their support of violent protests, like people who show up at Susan Collins. Oh, they didn't get violent. And much more, all throughout the United States of America. We're not going to allow these lunatics to rip apart America anymore, never giving it so much as a chance to breathe and be free. Soros and his group of psychopaths have caused great damage to our country. That includes his crazy West Coast friends. Be careful. We're watching you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, George Soros. I found a thread here put together by someone I had never heard of before, which I thought did a great job breaking down how RICO could apply to George Soros, the bases to go after George Soros. And I wanted to explore that with you, seeing as how that's... Data Republican put out this whole lengthy explanation, and about the mindset and philosophy of George Soros and his Open Societies Foundation, and the mindset between that and how it's different from communism. It's actually the antithesis of communism, but it ends up growing into being the same function as communism, the same evil function. There was an individual by the name of Sam E. Antar who put out a long tweet today talking about the corruption related to George Santos and how he ties into New York DNC candidate Zohran Mamdani. And when I was looking at this, I was like, this is very confusing. It's been seen by a lot of people. And it's got this confusing chart, 15,000 likes. So it's been seen, I don't know, like a million times probably. I don't know. Yeah, 1 million views. There you go. Okay. So a lot of people have seen this. I want to try and break this down for you really quickly as to what it is he's saying, because even when he explains it, it's somewhat confusing. So I'm going to try and explain this to you in case you've seen this, in case you're one of those 1 million people who have seen this. And I'm also going to walk you through the potential RICO charges. So he says, we expose how George Soros converts tax-deductible donations into political campaigns through a $34 million pipeline where Tides and Working Families Party coordinate to support candidates like Zohran Mamdani. Our investigation uncovered $2+ billion tax-exempt network that systematically converted charitable donations into political power. What does this mean? So we're not going to go through the full investigation, but the basic scheme. George Soros donates to his foundation to promote his foundation to promote open society. That's the name of it. The name of his charity is Foundation to Promote Open Society. That is a 501c3. It's a charitable organization. So when he donates there, he gets a tax break on that he's giving it to this charitable organization. 8.4 million flows to Tides Foundation, another charity, which is a 501c3. From there, 29.3 million flows to Tides Advocacy. Now, this is a political group. They're a 501c4. So they are not a charitable organization. You're not supposed to have money flowing back and forth between charitable organizations and monies that are political. And they coordinate with working families organizations supporting candidates like Mamdani. And what he says is, as far as that the reverse flows of money are the smoking gun. After receiving $9.71 million from the Soros pipeline, the Working Families Organization sent $325,000 back to Tides entities. Independent charities don't do this. It's mathematical proof of coordination, meaning if you're getting money, why are you giving money back to someone else, to his other company? So he gives money to one company, and they're just giving it to a different company. They're giving a portion of it to a different company. Tides Advocacy, again, that's the 501c4, lists Janice Evans Page as director. She's also the CEO of Tides Foundation. So the Tides Advocacy is the political one, and Tides Foundation is the charity one, and Tides Center. Yet Tides Advocacy filed no disclosure forms for 5 years while receiving $29 million. So the political company got $29 million and gave no financial disclosures. Working Families Organization reported $80,000 to WFP National PAC, but used an EIN that actually belongs to International Earthlight, so that's sloppy at the very least. Tides Center reported a $343,000 contribution to Tides Advocacy. So Tides Center, again, is the charity. The Tides charity contributed $343,000 to the Tides political group, using an EIN that belongs to Think Outside the Block, Inc. Yeah, that's weird. Deloitte auditors confirmed operational integration between Tides Foundations and Tides Centers. They're sloshing the money back and forth, requiring consolidated financial statements. Yet Tides Advocacy, sharing the same leadership, systematically concealed these relationships. And that's $34 million in documented flows between supposedly independent entities. So no, they're a completely different entity. We're a charity. We're not political. But then they're sending the money back. They're sending money back. $16.1 million in government grants flowing to organizations with political arms. $16 million in grants flowing to organizations with political arms. $36 million in admitted political transfers by Open Society. And over $2 billion in total network operations. Now, to be fair, I want to be very clear about this. 36 million is a crazy amount of money. It is a very, very small piece of $2 billion. So, it's like 2% of $2 billion. So it's really not indicative of corruption throughout the company. But this is what they're calling this is what they have smoking gun on. And every dollar amount traced to original IRS Form 990 filings, we filed a fifth supplemental IRS whistleblower complaint documenting potential $500 million in tax recovery from this coordination system. That's a lot of money. That's a lot more than 36 million. The Mamdani connection, this network manufactured his grassroots campaign while maintaining the illusion of independent charitable work. The infrastructure that created his political rise operates continuously, creating candidates nationwide. If charitable tax deductions can be systematically converted into political coordination through concealed control structures, it undermines the entire tax-exempt system. Donors get tax breaks, candidates get grassroots cover. And here they're showing the mathematics don't lie. When organizations engage in $34 million flows while concealing key relationships and sending money backward through the system, these patterns warrant an investigation. I agree with that. It warrants an investigation. But this is not something that I think ultimately is going to take Soros down. That's my estimation. They have this very complicated thing tied together, the Open Society Institute with the Alliance for the Open Society and the Foundation to Promote Open Society. And they're sending money to Tides Advocacy and to And then Tides Advocacy sends to working families. Or they send money to Tides Foundation. Tides Foundation sends it to working families. And all these different agencies, which are all supposedly very separate, very independent, having overlap of who the CEO is and money sloshing back and forth. So that is a basis for, you would think, in further investigation, but it's not like something that's going to be a smoking gun that's going to put them away. Thank you, Sharon Hatt. Appreciate it. But I do want to break down for you this analysis as to potential RICO charges. So let's do that. Let's do that. I'm going to do this relatively quick. This is the deepest, most incriminating, most detailed threat on George Soros you will ever read. George Soros built an empire on chaos. Now his son Alexander inherits the throne. But what if his philanthropic empire is actually the largest, most sophisticated criminal organization in modern history? We have the evidence. We have the law. It's called RICO. Here's a 24-part indictment the DOJ is too cowardly to bring. To win a RICO case, prosecutors must prove 4 things. First, the existence of an enterprise. The law's definition is brilliantly broad. It's not just formal corporation, but any group of individuals with a common purpose, including a loose association in fact. So the Soros Network, the Open Side Foundation, its legion of grantees, and its web of shell packs is a textbook criminal enterprise united by a single goal: the destruction of American sovereignty. I would look at it as being financial, but happy and seeking more power. Second, a pattern of racketeering activity. This is the key that unlocks the entire conspiracy. The law requires at least 2 major crimes or predicate acts from a list of 35 committed within a 10-year period. These acts must demonstrate relatedness and, crucially, continuity, a threat of long-term criminal conduct. The Soros enterprise hasn't just committed 2. It has engaged in a decades-long pattern of criminal activity across the globe, a dynasty of crime. He was the chair of the Soros Fund Management. Meet the bosses of the Soros crime family. At the top sits George Soros. That's not George, that's Chuck Schumer. The architect who built a $25 billion empire by manufacturing chaos and profiting from the wreckage. Now he has formally passed control to his hand-picked successor, Alexander Soros, who's publicly vowed to be even more political than his father. The formal handover power is the single greatest piece of evidence for continuity under RICO. Does seem like that. The Open Society Foundation is the enterprise's primary front. It is not a foundation. It's a sophisticated money laundering operation for a radical political agenda. With a $25 billion endowment and over $1.5 billion in annual expenditures, it has the scale and reach of a rogue state, operating in over 120 countries. In 2017, Soros personally injected $18 billion into the organization. He wasn't making a donation. He was capitalizing a criminal enterprise. All right, you still have to prove that. The soldiers of the Soros enterprise are its grantees, radical groups that organize riots, advocate for open borders, and push anti-American propaganda are not independent partners. So just because you're giving it to a different company, that company, if you keep giving it to these companies which are engaging in the same illegal activity, they end up being instruments of the enterprise's will, funded through a labyrinth of pass-through entities like the Tides Foundation and shell packs designed to obscure the chain of command. RICO was specifically written to pierce these veils and hold the bosses accountable for the actions of their subordinates, like the crazy pro-Palestine rallies. The pattern of racketeering began with economic terrorism. What do you mean by economic terrorism? It means like trying to manipulate using large amounts of purchasing or selling in order to manipulate markets. That's what they're referring to when they're talking about economic terrorism. On Black Wednesday, 1992, Soros launched a massive speculative attack on the British pound, earning the moniker the man who broke the Bank of England. He pocketed over $1 billion in profit while the British Treasury and its taxpayers lost an estimated $3.4 billion. This was not a trade. It was a predicate act, interference with commerce by threats or violence against a sovereign nation. That's a tough call. The original sin that revealed the enterprise's character. You have to prove that what he did there was illegal. But I don't think we're going to be going back to 1992 anyway. This was not a one-off event. During the 1997 Asian financial crisis, Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad publicly accused Soros of using his financial power to punish the nation for its political decisions, referencing Soros' Jewish background to imply conspiracy. Soros' own fund later admitted to short-selling the Malaysian ringgit and Thai baht. This establishes a clear global pattern of using predatory financial power to destabilize entire economies for profit and political leverage. Well, if he has the ability to do that, the question we have to establish which of the predicates is that violating. Which predicate is that covering? The Soros enterprise then brought its destabilization playbook to America. During the 2014 Ferguson unrest, OSF funneled at least $33 million to a network of civil rights groups, including the key on-the-ground organizers of the protests that devolved into riots. The Organization for Black Struggle and Missionaries, Organizing for Reform and Empowerment. Businesses were looted and burned, and American City was torn apart. This is the funding of domestic terror. That, I think, can serve for predicates. That I think he can be held liable for. In the summer of 2020, as American cities burned during the most destructive riots in a generation, the Soros enterprise announced it was pouring a staggering $220 million into racial justice groups, including money at the heart of the violent protests. This is not a donation to heal the country. It was pouring gasoline on the fire. They funded the chaos. They profited politically from division and fear. This is racketeering on a national scale. That I think you can make a fair claim about. Because we saw it was happening in city after city. It happened in Portland. It happened in Seattle. It happened in Minneapolis. It happened in New York. It happened all across the country. Our cities burned in 2020, and there was definitely financially pushed along. And I don't think it would be difficult to establish that his foundations are behind it. So that I think could be something he could be held liable for. OSF maintains the legal fiction of an arm's length approach to its grantees, claiming it doesn't pay protesters or coordinate their actions. Under RICO, this defense is irrelevant. By knowingly and repeatedly funding groups whose tactics foreseeably include violence, arson, and looting, Soros Enterprise is criminally liable for the destructive results. So I don't know if that's legally true, but I would assume that that's legal. It's under philosophical legal principles. That's a logical thing to say. Meaning there are legal principles which would tend to support that perspective. I just haven't researched to tell you definitively that that is an accurate statement of law. And very often we'll see vicarious liability for people who have the money and are hiring and employing and things of that nature. So the idea that there would be this sort of, continuous or showing a willful, reckless disregard for what's happening there to the point that you can be assumed to be knowledgeable and have intent. The widespread destruction of private property constitutes a massive violation of the Hobbs Act. They paid for the riots. They own the consequences. Perhaps the most insidious predicate act is the systematic takeover of our justice system. The Soros enterprise has spent over $40 million to elect a slate of radical pro-criminal district attorneys in America's largest cities. This, I don't think, I think they're evil and terrible human beings. I don't know that this is a crime. Spending a lot of money in your political endeavors is a reflection of just how committed they are to their crazy destruction of America principles, but that's still not a crime. Once in office, these Soros-backed DAs implement the enterprise's agenda, systematic refusal to prosecute entire categories of crime, from theft and drug offenses to resisting arrest and assault on law enforcement. This seems like an almost impossible thing to prove that that's what he was looking for. That's a really hard thing to prove. This is not criminal justice reform. It's coordinated conspiracy to commit obstruction of state or local law enforcement. That will never stick. It just won't. Because it'll be like, it's just too many steps you have to jump there. Meaning, the defense would come in there and they'd be like, he liked these candidates. So does that mean he knows they're not going to enforce? Doesn't he need to know which things are not going to be enforced? How does he know that they're gonna go through with that? Like, how do you prove that he knew they were gonna that Kim Gardner was gonna go after the McCloskeys and basically let the city of St. Louis burn to the ground? How does he know that they're gonna do that? Is there a commitment from her? Is it something that he's forcing her? Or Kim Fox, Larry Krasner, all of these twisted. It's very hard to establish how it's a very tough case to make. The results of this racketeering are written in blood on the streets of our cities. In every jurisdiction where Soros DA has been installed, violent crime has exploded. It's not coincidence, the direct and intended outcome of the enterprise criminal conspiracy. It's really, really hard to establish that culpability for third parties engaging. Creating a reckless environment is different from hiring people to burn down a city. If you give money to an entity and they hire people to protest and become violent, then I can understand well, something got very dry in here. If you pay money to an organization, they go out and hire people to tear down the city, you can see the direct nexus there for culpability. If you give money to someone who's going to create an environment that allows criminality to flourish, now the crimes are being committed by third parties that you have no relationship to. Unlike in the first example, where it's like you're paying someone who's then paying people to do crime, now you're paying someone who's creating a situation that allows unknown people to engage in crime. Much tougher nexus. And even though that's far more damaging to America and far more outrageous and disgusting, it's also far more difficult to establish a crime has been committed. That's the point I'm getting at. So, ooh, excuse me, I need a drink. My throat's very dry now. Sorry about that. All right. Before they targeted America, the Soros enterprise perfected its methods overseas. It was a key financial backer of the so-called color revolutions, regime change operations disguised as popular uprisings in countries like Georgia, Ukraine, and Kyrgyzstan. This established a clear pattern of subverting sovereign governments that did not align with the enterprise's geopolitical goals. The same playbook. Look at Ukraine. Soros OSF was deeply involved in funding civil society groups that participated in the Euromaidan protests, which violently overthrew the elected government. Once the new Ukraine was installed, what did Soros do? He publicly announced he was ready to invest $1 billion in the country. This is the Soros destabilization loop. Fund the chaos, then profit financially and politically from the new order you helped create. How do we prove criminal intent? They wrote it down for us. Leaked internal documents from OSF published by DC Leaks in 2016 are the smoking gun. These memos reveal the calculated strategies behind the philanthropy mask. Detailed plans to influence European elections, pressure the Obama administration on refugee policy, and fund a network of anti-Israel groups to challenge Israel's racist and anti-democratic policies. This is a conspiracy documented in their own words. I haven't seen their memos on the DC leaks, so I can't weigh in as to that. I'd be curious to see that, though. I think that could be potentially telling. Soros is the architect of this conspiracy. His entire life's work, from his financial speculation to his funding of radical politics, demonstrates a clear and unwavering intent to conduct the affairs of his enterprise through a pattern of racketeering. He's not a passive donor who's surprised by the actions of his grantees. He's the chief conspirator, and under 18 U.S.C. 1962d, he must be held accountable. So there you go. Oh, and the conspiracy is built to outlive him. Alexander Soros is not merely an heir, he's willing and active co-conspirator. By assuming control of the $25 billion empire and publicly committing to continue and expand his political operations, he's agreed to participate in the enterprise's criminal affairs. RICO law does not require the conspirator know every detail of the plot, only that he knows of its general criminal purpose and agreement to participate. Alexander knows, and he agrees. So he's saying the evidence is overwhelming. I don't know if the evidence is overwhelming, but we definitely, there's enough there that there really should be an investigation. We have an enterprise led but that's how you would come to there being a criminal enterprise led by George Soros, decades-long pattern of racketeering, including economic warfare, incitement of riots, obstruction of justice, and global subversion. And we have a clear conspiracy to undermine the laws, sovereignty, and safety of the United States. This is not politics, it's organized crime. All right, so like I said, I think that to me, the easiest thing to get to now tie into RICO, I think the obstruction of justice is really hard to get to. So the economic warfare, similarly, you're going to struggle on that. Incitement of riots, I think, is where we have the best smoking gun. Global subversion, I don't know if there's any laws about that. Or how that ties into RICO. I'd be surprised if anything in RICO ties into global subversion. So he's funding. I don't know that there's anything in RICO is designed to stop people from supporting a revolution in Ukraine. I just don't, or Kyrgyzstan. But that is the breakdown. Oh, finally, therefore, we the people must demand action. The DOJ has a moral and legal obligation to convene a federal grand jury to investigate the Soros enterprise for violations of the RICO Act. No man, no matter how wealthy, no organization, no matter how powerful, is above the law. It's time to prove it. Oh, and he's also saying prison time isn't enough. We should be disgorging their money. A conviction will allow the government to seize every penny of the ill-gotten gains. Good luck figuring out how much that is. The emperor must be dismantled. I think he meant to say root and stem, but he wrote root and branch. Battle for the survival of our republic. The Soros enterprise has declared war on our way of life. Look, and listen, you're preaching to the choir here. I know they're evil. I know he's a terrible human being. I know he's destroying society. It's just a matter of what can you prove beyond a reasonable doubt? That's the hard part. He is an ex-Nazi. I know he's Jewish, but he was a capo. I want to share with you a clip. In fact, I think I'm going to close with this. You have to see this clip of George Soros talking. I think it's below here. Nope, it's not. I know where it is. Give me a moment. Uno momento. Por favor. I know where I have it. It's gonna take me like 30 seconds to dig it up. Should be at the bottom here. Great clip. If you want to know just how evil this scumbag is, I'm your Huckleberry. Here it is. Okay. Here's George Soros, 30 years ago.
who swore with this protector of yours, who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes, yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right. Yes.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for.
He's talking about what he was doing in World War II. So he's in Europe in World War II, Jewish guy, and some Nazi would introduce him as his godson.
Many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection, but it created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt.
No.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours, who swore that you were his.
I don't know why it's on loop. That has twice.
Godson.
Yes. Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right.
That's where he got his. That's where he got his starting from. He basically his blood money. Now, supposedly, he was remarkably talented at running hedge funds. Data Republican, who this clip was thrown in by someone afterwards. She has a whole lengthy, very complicated thread. She has a very, very detailed thread breaking that down, which maybe I'll go through that at a different point. But this thread here breaking down, this would take me I could spend 2 hours going through this thread. The self-styled messiah who reshaped the modern age. He once admitted, if truth be known, I carried some rather potent messianic fantasies with me from childhood. But when I made my way in the world, I wanted to indulge my fantasies to the extent that I could afford. So, and she goes through the philosophy of George Soros and how it helped him make money and how it basically is, he played a pivotal role in the collapse of the Soviet Union, and he hates Russia. But that, and this notion of reflexivity, where he says that he basically assumes that price is always wrong. But not only that, the prices reshape facts. Like I said, it's a very very, very complicated thing. He said, to understand reflexive, thing with startup company. A startup may initially have nothing more than hype. Investors throw millions at it anyway. Then the startup starts hiring orders, coders, marketers, etc. Now the hype is real. The product is real. Then they throw more money at the startup, and the startup keeps making more products until it all crashes. And basically, reflexivity assumes everything is a Ponzi scheme. So Soros, everything, stocks, history, currencies, lies on some point in that cycle. Anyway, he made big all-in moves repeatedly. Your average trader at an institutional company is beholden to a process and might be fired for one wrong big trade. But he started with a great deal of money that he stole from Jews. He was all too happy to, had no problem with it, in his own words. He's a real sick monster. So hopefully we can get him before God does. But still rooting for God too. What a painful death for that guy. Sheng Tao's former mayor of Oakland, Soros funders under FBI investigation, may be connected. Maybe. They all to tie it back to the kingpin at the top is just it's tough. It's tough. It's really, really tough. Anyway, that's what I got for you tonight. I am gonna cut it a little bit short. I actually hope to cut it shorter than I did, but I'm gonna cut it short now and wrap up. I'm heading on over to Jim Saltella for his birthday. He's having, supposedly, he said he's gonna have hopefully Branka in there and other people. So I'm heading on over there. And I'm going to redirect you over there, and I hope you will join me over there. I don't know if I can redirect over in Rumble. Uzan says, Joe, under his logic, with this Elon could be charged with RICO. I don't know about that. Joe, you should go to Booker town halls and do same tactics. Antoine Pack said. That would be funny. I should. Why are you standing up for criminal illegals? Why? Don't you care about the children? It sounds like a fun project. That really does sound like a fun way to spend the day. Maybe I will. All right, my friends. I hope you're going to join me on over there. Remember, lamb meat, they, them, not for you. Do not eat the bugs. I'll see you all over on Jim Tells You. Hopefully, we have a wild, awesome audience there. Till then, have a good night and Godspeed.